One review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's a director, producer, as well as an author and the author of the book Jack Moves, a memoir of the wheat trade and 10 years living, no other than Mr. Jeremy Norrie. Welcome, Mr. Jeremy, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Jeremy Norrie. I'm a documentary journalist as well as an author. I make films about all kinds of different subjects. I have maybe 50 different films, and they're available on all kinds of streaming platforms from Amazon to YouTube.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Jeremy. Thank you. And today let's talk about your Jack moves. What is all about?
I grew up being in the cannabis industry. And I sold weed out of my house before I was officially in the actual business of cannabis. And I had people that home invaded me and robbed me. And I also, in the cannabis industry, did some things that got me close to arrested. And so I told all these scary stories in one place. That's what my book is all about.
Mr. Jeremy, let's start with the title. What does a Jack move mean to you, both in the context of the trade and as a broader philosophy for the life you were living?
Yes, the word jack moves is slang from the 90s for robbing people.
Hmm. So let's
So
the
that's what it
yes.
means to me, you know.
Hmm. So this memoir built in trades like a thriller. How do you approach structuring your life story to balance a raw honesty with the pace and tension of a high stakes narrative?
Well, I wasn't really trying to write this book in a traditional way. This was more a collection of stories that were uncomfortable to remember. And so I wanted to tell these stories because people really enjoyed hearing about them. But having to relive these moments over and over was not very enjoyable. And as time went on, I would forget some of the things in the stories. So it was almost more of like a diary than anything else for me.
A diary indeed. The way trade can be romanticized in popular culture. What was the most important and glamorous truth about life you wanted to make sure was the front and center in this book?
Absolutely. Some of the things that I was doing near the end of my career were very glamorous. We were flying all over the United States, even internationally, throwing illegal cannabis events in cities that we had never been before. And it seemed surreal at times. But the main thing that was important about what we were doing were the patients, the people who were using cannabis as medicine. And this was something not just fun for them, but important for their life. And that is more important for everyone.
On personal journey and motivation, Mr. Jeremy, what was the initial spark that pushed you not just into trade, but into specific realm of dangerous living you describe? What was a purely economic, a thrill, or a sense of identity, or something else?
It was also the lifestyle. It was a way to make money that wasn't difficult like some of the other jobs that I would have. Although I did have a day job during most of my time selling marijuana. And, the day job would be hard. It would be a completely different life. And then selling marijuana was like a party every night. And so that was glamorous. It paid really well. And, I enjoyed it at the time. It was illegal, so there were no stores. So we were really lucky to be able to kind of live through that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. And in early days, what was the personal narrative or justification you told yourself to make the risks and moral compromises feel acceptable?
Yeah, well, I told myself that this was going to become a career and that I wouldn't have to risk my life for very long, that these risks would pay off in the end, and that I would have, um, maybe a stress or not a stress free job per se, but a job that was lower stress than a lot of other jobs. And that's not how it turned out. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Looking back, was there a specific deal moment or realization where you felt you crossed a line from which there was no easy return to a conventional life?
Well, yes, I would say that once I developed prominence in the cannabis industry to where people knew who I was not an A-list celebrity, but maybe like a D-list cannabis celebrity. And even just that small bit of notoriety made me feel like doing certain jobs seemed beneath me. Even though I would do most of those things anyway. I would package and I would, work at a dispensary for a day or whatever it was. But I definitely had that attitude to where I thought I should be getting better opportunities.
Mr. Jeremy, you wrote about the codes and loyalties of the world. What is the most difficult personal sacrifice or relationship or a part of yourself that is code demanded?
Yeah. So when I got arrested, it would have probably been a lot easier to just turn in the people that I was working with, and that might have made my sentencing lesser. They might have just let me off completely if I immediately cooperated with them. But the ethics of our business and culture is that you don't do that sort of thing. And I didn't do that. And it cost me a lot of money and a lot of stress and, my whole career, to be honest with you. So my life has never been the same ever since that moment. And I stuck to that, uh, those ethics of what I was supposed to do. And, you know, I'm friends with that person at least, but I don't know that it was better for me in the long run. But I feel like I did the right thing all the same. I would do it again.
Do it again on reality of the trade, Mr. Jeremy. Beyond the big scores, what is did an advantage or average unremarkable Tuesday look like in your life you led? What mundane anxieties or logistic filled your days?
Tuesdays, huh?
Yeah.
Well, generally I get up. I live in the mountains here in California. So I walk to the lake. If it's snowing or something like that, I might skip it. But almost always I can walk to the lake, and then that gives me time to think. It's almost like meditating. And by the time I get home, I'm ready to work out. I do my morning workout. That takes about half an hour or so. And then I'll kind of gather myself for the day. I'll start working on things that I need to work on. That could be different every day. So on a random Tuesday, I might need to do some social media stuff. I might need to watch a new version of a documentary. I might need to shoot a little video or cut one of my videos. I try to make a video every day for my social media and just to practice documenting my life. And then, mid afternoon, I usually kind of wind down and I start watching stuff on TV. I might watch fighting, I might watch a movie or something like that. And I might talk to my friends or some sort of thing like that. I also would make food during the afternoon. I try to not eat until around 3 o'clock every day. And so that would be around when I would start eating, and then I would move into the evening with a lot of that same behaviors, and eventually eat dinner, and I go to sleep probably 11 o'clock, and every now and then I'll decide to work on something during that time, or I will end up talking to a friend or do something kind of different than normal. But that's pretty traditional Tuesday for me.
How did your relationship with fear and risk evolve? Did you become numb or to danger, or was the adrenaline a constant or a sharp presence?
It was a short presence. I don't really deal with the adrenaline of fear extremely well. Although I do semi crave doing risky things, even now in my more um, mature life. So maybe I did develop some sort of subconscious attachment to it. But for the most part, when I was doing these things, they didn't feel scary. There were scary moments when you would have a close call or it felt like you were close to something happening. But most of the time, you felt pretty normal and it wasn't a scary thing.
How did your relationship with fear risk evolve while those greatest dangers are at enhance or the law or rival operators or the volatility of the product itself or something more psychological like paranoia or trust?
Well, for us, there were two big things that were the risks. You would have the risk of law enforcement. So there were certain situations that seemed more risky. You might be very secretive to your neighbors so that you don't want people to know exactly what you do. Um, and then you might have situations where you got robbed by friends. And so that might create some really different relationships and anxiety amongst people that you considered friends. So, there were all kinds of unique drawbacks that you wouldn't expect.
The most dangerous element. As its core, is this also a book about entrepreneurship? What is unconventional business lesson did you learn about supply chains, negotiation, and customer relations in an unrelegated or unregulated market?
Yeah, I would say that's true. I definitely learned fractions from selling marijuana, not from school. And it was really a education that kind of came along with the things that you needed to accomplish in your endeavors, you know. So for people at different levels of the trade, you would have to learn and adapt to more serious business things like consignment, for example, and all kinds of things that you wouldn't normally assume would be a part of selling pot. You know, it seems like a simple thing, but as it gets bigger and bigger, it takes on all kinds of real business attributes. And a lot of the people in the pot trade early on were in that trade because they weren't great at business. So it became difficult as it got bigger.
Now that the cannabis is becoming a legal corporate industry, what do you see the most iconic or stark difference between the old world you inhabited and the new legitimized one?
Well, the old world was definitely scary in that we could get arrested and there was a lot of risk involved from both um, robbery and theft, and that could involve death to the legal consequences, which could involve jail time for massive amounts. So it was really scary back in the early days. Now it's a lot less scary in that way, but it's also a lot less welcoming. So most of the people that I've known throughout the career in cannabis, they're no longer working in the cannabis trade, and I feel like that's really sad. So um, moving forward, now that Trump just rescheduled cannabis, uh, none of us know what to expect. It's very likely that this could be the first step in big pharma taking over the cannabis industry.
Indeed. So, Mr. Jeremy, how did this life wrap or redefine your understanding of friendship, love, and family? Who was the person you most regret losing or hurting along the way?
Oh wow, what a question! You
Thank
know,
you.
I I guess it would be there's more than one person. I think any of my girlfriends, any or all of my girlfriends that I had during those times or prior to those times, you know, especially like my first girlfriends, they were really good people, and I wasn't a complete person, and so I regret hurting them.
Mhm. And the process of writing a memoir requires reliving experiences. What part of your past did you understand differently once you started writing about what is perspective of time?
You know, I learned to appreciate myself. I was in a little bit of a depressed state of mind when I was writing the book. I had lived in a house that got raided, and I had numerous dead ends in my life up until that point. I was looking for some sort of path forward that seems to sustainable and that it would lead to progress. And writing the book, I was hoping could be part of that, and in doing it, it kind of opened my eyes that this wasn't necessarily going to lead to my next career move, but it was. a way to kind of get closure on what was my life in the cannabis world. And in a strange way, I did end up getting another job in the cannabis world later on, not necessarily from the book, but it's a surprise how things turn out. So here I thought I was all done with this stuff, and it brought me back in.
Yes, definitely. And Mr. Jeremy, if you could send a message back to yourself on the first day you decided on a jack move, what would it be, and knowing the journey would lead to this book?
Gosh, I guess I wouldn't do anything differently. You know, there's part of me that wishes I could do many things differently in my life, but I don't think it's really good to live with regret. So I don't think about those things that much. And I just try to make the best decisions I can moving forward. So looking back, I guess I'd do it all over again.
All over again. Having left the literal danger behind, what does dangerous living or jack move mean to you now in your current legitimate life? Is it mindset you retired or repurpose?
Oh, that is retired. You know, that life I look at as a different life that I used to live. And the life I live now is far away from that. And I don't really have a desire to go back to that lifestyle. As fun and as exciting as it was, that was like a different person. So I'm happy to move forward with a new perspective and new goals and retire the old lifestyle.
Well, to wrap up our discussion for today, Mr. Jeremy, tell us, if a reader takes one thing from your story, what do you hope it is? Is it warning, a testament to resilience, or study in a subculture, or something else entirely?
You know, for me, I think I just want to inspire people to do things that they love. And if it's something related to any of the themes in the book, great. If it's something totally unrelated, like going on a sailing trip or something, great. You know, have adventure in your life and make the best of life.
Yes, the best of life, because life is too short. People! So, Mr. Jeremy, can you please invite our listeners to support Jack Moves?
Absolutely. I have a website. It is called theskyisland.com. My production company is Sky Island Storytelling. You can get links to all my films through my filmography link on my website page. It takes you to my IMDb page or a collection of my films on YouTube. If you can rate them and comment and share, that's what helps filmmakers the most. And my book is also on there. The first chapter is free. You can read it on the website, and it's also available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And I think it's also available as a digital copy on a couple platforms too.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Jeremy Norrie, because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Jeremy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Monica, people, see you soon.